Hello and welcome to another session in the Skewdio. Today we are joined by Joe Lynch and Adam Hassall. So why don't we start? We're going to be talking about all things Valve Trak today. But before we get into that, why don't we start by having both of you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. Joe, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Joe Lynch, Director of New Technology at UAS Tooling and Technologies. And I've been in the gas industry for the last 16 years.
Amazing. And what's your role now? What do you do today?
So I sort of look after technology innovation for UAS. So, we look around the industry, construction, gas, water, utilities, and we sort of work out where the problems are and we put solutions together to help fix those problems or make operations more efficient by using technology.
I love that. Okay, Adam, what about you?
Hello, so my name's Adam Hassall. I'm the Innovation Specialist for Cadence Smart Network.
Amazing. And how long have you been in the industry?
13 years and counting.
We were just saying you two, your paths didn't cross before Valve Trak came into your lives, but you've been on similar paths.
Yeah, so me and Adam both came up on what was classed at the time as the CETP training program, so Construction Engineer Training Program, which was the biggest intake of trainee construction engineers or trainee engineers for something near 30 years. And that started in 2009 for me. Adam, you started
2012?
Yeah. So, the program, it was a fantastic program. It was National Grid at the time, obviously, Cadent Gas now. But it was a great program that taught us, how to operate as managers in the engineering space, and it was a fantastic course, that you took your time, they took you through education, they took you through, on-site training modules, and, they really gave us the tools to have long careers in the gas industry. And you look across the intake of those CETPs across the years, and these people are running big companies now, or and very heavily involved in the future of gas. So it's a great investment as far as I'm concerned.
And clearly working, you two are clearly thriving in the utilities sector.
It also positioned us with a number of people, CTPs, ETPs, who we can pull on when we need to.
Yeah. So your community, yeah, absolutely right. Your community of people that have gone through the same journey is huge, And like Adam says, these people are running different companies now, so it's great to know these people and have a history with them as well. Yeah.
So we have a physical reminder today of what we are talking about. We have a little canister case here.
Yeah.
It is black and looks very jazzy and high tech, and it has the words Valve Trak on it. So take us back to 2019. Is that right? COVID time?
Start of the pandemic?
Yeah.
Start of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the history behind this product and how it came to be.
Okay, I mean, so we were talking earlier about this product and about Valve Trak, and we sort of joked about it being our child, and there's probably only one other person, which is Joe Iredale, who is the managing director of UAS, who has trod that path with us, and Jessica Moore, who's the sales director, that has trod that path with us and Adam in terms of the journey we've been on with it, and it's been a long and winding road.
This baby is now 3.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Terrible toddlerhood.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I couldn't be prouder of this product, and I know Adam feels the same. And from a Cadent point of view, a GDN gas distribution network point of view, this is huge news as far as I'm concerned. It fulfills a gap that needed to be filled. So it started in a pandemic. Do you want to sort of take us through that early bit, Ad, and then?
Yeah, so ordinarily what we do with technology is create it and then try and put it somewhere. But in this particular case, UIS came forward and said, look, we've got this new IOT platform. What can we do with it?
Internet of Things, by the way, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And at the time, I'd just finished a valve remediation program with Cadent. So when I instantly saw it, I leant towards valves and valve chambers, and the rest's history, I suppose.
Okay. And so why was there a need for it then? We were talking about this before. Why was it needed to be created?
So I think, there's always a need for, gaining efficiencies, doing things better. And I think, Adam's experience with valve remediations and then our kind of coming into the technology market, because UIS traditionally is a tooling manufacturer, tooling designer and manufacturer of tooling equipment for the utility sector. My previous life was with Cadent, so I bizarrely handed in my notice at Cadent the week before COVID was announced, which was a very stupid thing to do, but I went and did it anyway. And so when I came on board, we started looking at how do we grow UIS away from just tooling, and that led us to say, well, actually, do you know what? Let's have a look at some technology stuff. We've got the skill set in-house to look at technology, and we went on that journey. And I think, there's always a need to sort of question everything that's happening to say, can we do it better? Is there a more efficient, more effective, more cost-effective way of looking after that asset? I'm come from an asset management background. And with Adam's experience with the remediation program, it clashed at the very same time as we had started, developing our technology DNA. And a conversation then sort of occurred that actually the light bulb started flicking on, maybe, that said, do you know what? Let's put these two things together, and why don't we come up with what we didn't know at the time was going to be called Valve Trak? It was an idea. Why don't we do something to help, gas distribution networks look after their valves? And that's where it started. Now, very quickly after that, you then sort of start envisaging this product. And you start saying, well, where are the other user cases for this? And when you look around and, you look at the valve population for these distribution networks, you very quickly get onto, high risk assets, and you very quickly get onto, where can we add the value with this product? And for me, it was around the multi-occupancy building sort of user case, where if you were to get a incident at a multi-occupancy building where you need to get hold of the gas asset quickly, up until this, you are relying on local knowledge. Is that fair?
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair.
Whereas, with Valve Trak, you can now get onto that asset immediately, like absolutely immediately, with your mobile phone, Android or Apple. It takes you to the valve that you're looking for, and you can get on and operate that, let's say that pipeline isolation valve, which is the user case that Valve Trak is being used for predominantly at the minute. You can get onto that pipeline isolation valve in seconds. And that pipeline isolation valve isolates, or it does what it says on the tin, it isolates the pipeline. So it could isolate, 20 blocks, 20 stories of property or more or less. And by operating that valve, you've got control of the gas, So it's a very strong user case, I think, at the minute.
I'm just kind of reflecting on what you just discussed there.
Yeah.
If we take ourselves right back to the beginning of the journey, them light bulb moments were probably daily.
Yeah.
And they came apparent by me with, can you just this, can you just that?
And actually, at the time, that's quite irritating, because you've got a product, yeah, and you're sort of saying, right, we've got a product here, that's great. And then somebody like Adam comes along and says, yeah, but can it do this? And, there's a bit of a joke at UIS, Adam wanted to make a bloody cup of tea, But that's what you need,
We draw the line there,
that's the push that you need. So, we've got this thing in our head that says, this is what we're going to create, this is great, this is amazing. And then somebody from the client base or the asset base comes along and says, yeah, but it would be brilliant if it did this.
Yeah.
And it just pushes you to that, actually, yeah, we this can be better. Let's make it better.
And how did you come on the journey then, Adam?
I've been on the journey from the beginning.
Yeah.
So bringing an engineering background, understanding them user cases, understanding where the industry needs this technology to support, and then seeing it through to where we are today. It's probably worth noting that originally the kind of concept was, let's find the valves.
Yeah.
But now we've moved on from there, where it's not only let's find the valve, it's let's provide as much information as possible, as quickly as possible to that end user,
Yeah.
to make their experiences as agile as possible.
So we want to the Pipelines Industry Guild and IGM do a joint competition every year called Lines Layer, and we've decided that we were going to put Cadent and UIS were going to put the Valve Trak into that competition, and as it happens, we won it. So I went up, did a bit of a talk on stage, and we won it, which was fantastic. But that's not why I'm getting into that conversation. The reason I'm getting into that conversation is I gave a very clear, very simple presentation around the user case for Valve Trak, and it is as simple as this. Me and Adam are a team working on the gas, and we're doing some work in an area of the city, and we get a call from the control center to say we need you to go to a specific address because there's gas in blocks of flats. Okay, me and Adam have never been to this address because the area we work is massive. We've never been to this particular address. We kind of know where it is, but we don't know where any of the valves are. Okay, so we are now going to that address blind, other than we've got the address and we know where we're going.
And we have some plans and
we've got
various
plans.
other things, but
So we can hazard a guess as to where the isolation valve is. We can look at the riser on the building and say, well, riser's there, so it's here somewhere. And me and it's dark as well, by the way. We've done a full shift. We've worked our self into the ground. We're in the van. We're hot and sweaty because we've got out of a cold environment.
Really painting a picture.
Yeah, and but this is as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
This is real life. This is what our engineers are facing on a daily basis. When they go to this call. So what we've got to do is get ourselves out of an office environment where we create this and we design it and it does this, it does that. Great, but actually, has it got a very simple user case at the coalface of what we do? And the answer is yes, because when me and Adam get to that address without Valve Trak, we are out searching for that valve because we want to turn the pipeline isolation valve off. And we are literally searching with our feet, with our hands, with our eyes, looking for where that valve is. That could be found really quickly. It could take a little bit of time. It could take a long time. It could never be found. Those are the kind of options, right? With Valve Trak, we in that pipeline isolation valve chamber, we go on our phone. As I'm driving to it, Adam's getting it on his phone now. When we land, Adam's got the phone out, and we walk straight on top of that valve. We open the chamber, and we turn the valve off. Job done.
So in there, you've got, in essence, a car alarm.
Yeah.
We activate the car alarm and pinpoint the valve.
Yeah. It's amazing. And so do you need to have a specific Valve Trak in there for the system to be set up? Like, how does it work?
Yeah. So Valve
on
Trak
a
goes in.
day-to-day thing
Yeah.
right
So
now?
they're all uniquely identified. Yeah. So that will go into a valve chamber. It's got a unique identification. When we install it, we'll set it up. So that Valve Trak is associated with that particular valve and that particular valve chamber. And then when we go on our phone, when Adam goes on his phone, when we're in the van, we're on our way, Adam will look get the map up, and he'll find that valve is the one we're looking for.
Yeah.
And then through Bluetooth, Adam's phone will connect when we get close to it. Adam's phone will connect to that. So we get Google mapped in, Google directions, into the valve. And then when we get on foot, Adam will use his phone, and his phone will direct him. So the sort of Apple arrows or Google arrows, and it will direct him on top of that valve.
Yeah.
If we can't see it at that point, so now Adam's phone is connected to that valve.
So up until this point, it's a bit like Find My iPhone.
Yeah.
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 And if we can't visually see that valve, Adam will use his phone to get us directly on top of it. When we're on top of it, if we still can't see it, because remember, these areas aren't owned by the gas distribution network. The valve is, but nothing else is. So if you're a building owner and you wanted to re-landscape that area because you wanted to bring it up to modern day standards, you would get a landscape company in who would just do what they want to do. Now, they could cover our valve without any...
These are car parks, bin stores.
Yeah.
People put an array of things over the top of...
That stop us finding it, So if we're on top of it, but we can't see it, Adam can then press a button on his Valve Trak app that will send a high-pitched tone to that Valve Trak, 80 decibels at 1 meter. So even if we can't see it, we can hear it. And if we're digging,
Incredible.
and if we're digging, because we've got to get that valve, so we might be digging for it. If we're digging, we know we're digging directly on top of it. So even if it's buried, we are still getting on top of that valve really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's all done through Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the technology is relatively simple. And I shouldn't probably say that. Actually, no, it's not. It's really complicated. No one can ever do it.
That is key to a successful product.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Easy to use.
Yeah, and it's relatively simple, but it's with the user case in mind, and we've built it bespokely for that user case. Now that is a sealed container. You can't get into that. If me and you wanted to get into that now, we'd have to break it open. Yeah. And the reason for that is because it's ATEX 0 approved. Now, for people who don't know what that means, that is anything that goes into a gaseous atmosphere that has some kind of explosive nature to it, or some kind of battery, some kind of explosive nature. Yeah. You can't take one into a gaseous atmosphere without the risk of it exploding. So we've had to get that ATEX 0, so that means it can go into a gaseous atmosphere and it will be safe. That was the hardest. I think that was the hardest thing to do with that piece of kit. That took us a very, very long time.
Takes a long time
to get it ATEX approved. Yeah. So that's the unique selling point to that particular piece of kit. You know, all the components in there are relatively well known to anybody that knows anything about electronics. But the fact that we've been able to get it into a ATEX casing, and we've been able to link it to a portal where Cadent can see where their assets are, etc. That's a unique selling point for that.
And Adam, talk to me a little bit about how it's being used today by Cadent then. So it's starting to be used in day-to-day operations.
Absolutely, yeah. So the primary kind of user case was that high-rise building. So it's currently installed blocks of flats in London, soon to be in Manchester. Probably the other networks.
Yeah, so East of England from Cadent are taking some on for their strategical valves. NGN, so a different gas distribution network, but the NGN guys have got a number with them, 860. But I think there's got to be some kudos here, because there is you've got to adopt innovations. So we innovation companies can create innovations, and we have, and spend a lot of money. Very entrepreneurial is the innovation space. So, there's a couple of, I guess, shout outs for me. And one's for Joe Idell, who is the managing director of US. He's put his money into this, put his money where his mouth is. He believed in it. I told him at a very early stage that this was a journey we wanted to go on. Adam told him that from a client point of view, it got some legs. And that guy gambled.
It's probably worth highlighting that it was self-funded.
Wow.
So, typically speaking, innovation projects would be funded by the regulator. This one wasn't. It was funded by UIS.
Yeah.
And when we say by UIS, which is right, but really and truthfully by Joe Idell, Joe put his money where his mouth is and gambled on us and went, yeah, do you know what? I think we're onto something here. And then Adam for really believing that this has got this makes people safe. And we can't get away from that. For me, Valve Trak is a massive entry into the sort of asset management market, and can be used on loads of other things other than valves. It's got use cases are endless. So Adam, for me, some kudos there for believing in it, but also I guess we can't sort of do this kind of chat without also sort of recognising James Harrison down in London for, James is the first person that has put these in en masse. Looks after a hugely important network down there, and has gone through the last few years, in terms of the asset management space for multi-occupancy buildings, and has recognised that this is a very useful, game-changing sort of innovation, and has again put his money where his mouth is and gone, yeah, I want these on all my high-rise buildings. So London are at the forefront of getting these out. Like Adam said, they're going into the northwest. There's some are already in, but they're going to go in very soon. So they are starting to Valve Trak is starting to gain some traction in the industry for sure.
And are you seeing any immediate benefits from having put them in buildings, aside from obviously streamlining and making everyone's job a little bit easier? Joe was painting the picture of engineers in a hot, sweaty van, end of a long day. Are you seeing those sort of benefits already from implementation?
So the minute someone needs to dig on one, they'll see the benefit.
Yeah.
Personally, not many holes, but I have dug holes in the past, and not knowing where the valves are isn't fun.
No.
And thankfully, this takes it away.
Yeah.
And there are other user cases. We mentioned M1 valves before, strategic valves, governor inlets, outlets. If you ask Joe, we'd put them everywhere. But I think from a cadent perspective, obviously we need to do it methodically, working through each user case, which definitely starts with high-rise buildings and then from there on in.
Yeah. And it's brilliant that hopefully, it's quite an easy process to get them in. Once it's in, it's just going to streamline everything. How did you get people on board for that journey? People like James in London and people across Cadent. What do you tell them when you're talking about
Show
Valve
them.
Trak?
I was about to say that, exactly that.
There's no better way than showing them.
Yeah.
You can do video. We've tried with Teams and various other things. As soon as they see it in its environment, that's it.
Yeah.
Speak for
If
itself.
we hide that somewhere, right? And then we give you a phone and say, go and find it. And the fact that I could put this, around the perimeter of this building here at Skewdio, which is quite a big building, and I guarantee as quick as you can get around that building, you will find that valve.
Yeah.
That is when people really see the light bulb and go, okay, that's really easy,
Yeah.
and that's what we built it for, didn't we? We didn't want it to be complex. The installation process is simple. We built it from the ground up with utilities personnel in mind, around. We're not trying to make their job hard. We're not trying to make it complex. That is complex, but we don't need it to be complex for the end user.
And you're talking about it in a gas capacity, but how do you see it broadening out to help across the utility sector?
Yeah, so I mean, Adam's talked there about the gas sort of user case in terms of all the different variety of things. I think we've still got space to grow into that for other GDNs. I think that's definitely a growth for us. And then staying in that kind of industry, looking at other assets, because it's called Valve Trak, but there are myriad of assets that can be used on to support in not losing stuff or always knowing where something is. So that's definitely growth for us. And then, coming away from the gas sort of user case and talking to water companies, I mean, this is usable for them. Anybody that doesn't want to lose sight of their assets, or anybody that wants quick access to assets when they need it, whatever industry or utility or construction operation that's in, Valve Trak can do that job.
And then looking to the future then. So we joked that this is in its toddlerhood. 3 years of blood, sweat and tears by the sounds of things. Are there any key learnings from your time together so far that you're going to take with you into the future? And then looking to the future, where do you see Valve Trak going?
For me, throughout development, stay agile. The fact that UIS have been able to accommodate the can you just, and we said it in jest before, but in reality, accommodating the can you just get us to where that is.
Yeah.
It started off without the beacon, without the alarm, without the noise. And that kind of evolution has almost been like from the evolution man.
Yeah.
Personally, I think if that's Mark 4, we're now talking already about Mark 5, Mark 6, different features, different facets that people are, could you do this? Can you do that? And I think some of them are achievable, some of them not so.
Yeah. And I think, so we're in innovation, right? And I specifically look at tech innovation at UIS. And it's interesting how much you learn from each project. So we've got a number of projects going on with all sorts of different companies. We're doing some very exciting stuff with National Gas, which is, we're trialing a piece of technology for them over the next 12 months and hoping to roll that out for the next price control. Some really, really interesting technologies. We're doing some with a cross-party GDN group, so Cadent, NGN and Wales and West, around some support for vulnerable customers. And every project we do, we learn something else, and it's amazing. We're doing a project, the project we're doing with National Gas. We've learned things from the cross-party GDM project that we've actually gone, do you know what? We can use that same learning in this project, and it's sort of escalated accelerated certain elements of that project. So, you know, the value for me is just in living these projects from end to end. Yeah, it took us a long time, but we learned so much, and that learning never goes away. And, you know, innovation companies are really important for, you know, large sort of client organizations, because we can be nimble, we can be agile, we can make quick decisions. And, you know, we can really push things forward from a technology point of view. You know, we sort of say, with all the learnings that we've got over the sort of last 4 years of tech innovation, anything you want to see, feel, hear, we can put in a box, and we can get that to do something that you might have cost you a lot of money to do in the past with human beings, with, you know, salaries, pensions, overheads, vehicles, insurances, anything you want to see, feel, hear, or smell, we can put in a box, and we can do that really, really cost effectively for you, you know.
It must be a great source of pride for both of you as well, because, you know, talking about creating something like this, and even from a Cadent point of view, you think of it as a very big company. So the fact that you're being able to be this innovative and lead the way with it, you know, what are you both most proud of when you look back at your journey with Valve Trak so far?
For me, born and bred in Manchester, as you can tell by the accent, it started in the north, and that is the bit for me. I'm grateful for the fact that the likes of London and it's going further afield, but I'm proud of the fact that it started in the northwest.
Yeah, and I'm not from the northwest, so I don't really care about that. but I've got a lot of friends in the northwest. I love you all. So I think for me, you know, I've been involved in lots of innovation projects and lots of really interesting things in my career, and, you know, that I can point to and say, do you know what, I was really proud about being involved in that. And for me, it's about lasting impact, and you know, what have you been involved in during your career that you can, when you retire, you can go, do you know what, I was involved in this, and this. Valve Trak is 100% going to be on that list when I retire, you know, because it is so impactful. And if people don't understand the impact of it, then come speak to me, because you probably don't understand Valve Trak in its entirety. So I think for me, it's about that lasting impact, and Valve Trak is definitely in the top sort of 2 or 3, you know, things I'm going to look back on when I'm retired and go, do you know, I was part of that. Yeah,
Something you tell your children about.
yeah,
Or grandchildren, if
yeah.
Joe.
Nice.
Amazing. Joe, Adam, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.